Well, boy, oh boy, oh boy. You guys, we have finally done it. We have seen and learned all of the Nintendo Switch 2 information that we needed to know, at least for now. After 2.5 months of waiting, we have now finally all seen and watched the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. I'm recording this on April 2nd of 2025. Now, it should be noted that at the time of this recording, the Direct finished, I would say, about 3 or so hours ago. And I'm kind of squeezing this in sort of in like an early lunch period in the middle of my workday so I can kind of record this video. And so the details, the information, everything we saw and learned, it's fairly fresh in my mind. And also, a lot of details are still getting out there. There's a lot of information flowing, questions being answered, and also more questions being asked because it's like we're learning a lot more about everything every hour, but we're also still unsure about a lot of things as well. And so, being that the Nintendo Direct, the Switch 2 Direct is still very, very fresh, and like I said, information is still coming in, and a lot of questions still don't have answers, I'm kind of doing this initial video as like an overall, I can't call it an immediate reaction because, like I said, it was a few hours ago, but I kind of wrapped up, got my 2 quick reactions posted, and then I was ready to start my workday, and I've been working until now. So I'm kind of making this as a bit of a recent reaction, and I know for sure over the coming days and weeks, there will be more information to discuss and for me to break down. But I do just want to make this initial video talking about the little bit of information we do know right now, and also my overall feelings about the Direct. So overall, I just have to say that I think the Direct was great, man. I think it was a fantastic presentation. I think they covered almost every single bullet point and detail and question that we wanted to know about the Switch 2 console, some of the new features. They covered the C button. They showed us new Nintendo games, maybe not as many as I was hoping for or expecting, but they did show us a few new first-party games. They were pretty much all exciting to me. We did get some Metroid Prime 4 information, which I will be talking about as well. And there was a ton of third-party content. Like, wow, way more than I expected. That is clearly a strong focus of this show. So the Switch 2, it launches on June 5th, as we all know, of course, by the time you're seeing this video. I actually think I'm going to post this tomorrow, so you'll be seeing this on the morning of April 3rd, but again, I'm recording this only a few hours after the Direct has ended. June 5th, you know, there was conversation around sometime in May that was going around the past week or so. I know some folks were targeting like May 15th, or sometime in late May, and I mean, I certainly am not going to pretend like I knew when the date was going to be, but I've long believed June was going to make sense, especially once we got the April 2nd Direct date back when they revealed the Switch 2 in January. I was like, well, if they're going to show us all the information in April, I feel like June or July makes the most sense, and yeah, I've been pretty focused on June, and that's when it's happening. Right in the beginning of the month, June 5th, I'm very glad that that's the date because the last week of June we're actually traveling, and I was definitely nervous that I was going to pre-order a Switch 2 and be expecting it, knowing it would arrive when we wouldn't be at home. And so luckily June 5th is the perfect date, at least for me, and I'm stoked about that. Now let's talk about the big negative of the show and the information today. It's really kind of the only negative, and it has to do with pricing. What's interesting is that the price wasn't revealed in the Direct, but I think the reason we all know why is because the console is a little bit more expensive than most people expected, and there's a lot of not great information I'm kind of seeing around out there about the price of games, and it's all still a little wishy-washy to me, and I don't love that. But as far as the console itself, $450. Most of us were predicting around $400, $399. It's going to be $449. All things considered, I'm okay with that. I mean, I bought my Xbox Series X and my PlayStation 5 at $500, so paying $50 less for a badass-looking Nintendo Switch 2, I'm okay with that. Now, the games are... Okay, I don't even know what to say about the games because there's a lot of conflicting information I'm seeing, again, as of the time of recording this video. But it seems like Some games are selling for $80 digital and maybe $90 physical. That is absurd and that is super not cool, but that's what we're seeing. Some things are being showed as maybe $50 or $60 or $60 or $70. They do seem to be toying with different prices based on a physical or a digital purchase, and they're charging more for physical. I am a physical guy. I will be buying my games physical because that is the way your media should be, in my personal opinion. Or at least I should say there should always be the option for physical alongside of digital. So digital players can buy digital, physical players can buy physical, and everybody wins. You should support and facilitate all of the consumers within your market, and I'm a physical purchaser, so please give me physical video games. And so I don't really mind paying $10 more for physical games for sure, but $80 to $90? Holy crap, that is insane. Now, I won't spend too much time on this other than to just say that there is certainly a chance that the higher price for the system and these high prices for games that seem to be going around out there right now, maybe they're impacted by tariffs. And again, obviously I'm talking United States because I live in the US, so that's the prices I'm talking about. Obviously could be very different in other parts. And this is also a US thing. A U.S. concern is if recently imposed tariffs are impacting the prices that Nintendo has to charge for the console and for the games. When it comes to digital, that wouldn't make sense, but when it comes to physical games, maybe it does. I don't know the details. It's obviously a hot button topic. I don't love it. I think the whole thing stinks, whether it impacts video games or not. But it is what it is, and so we don't know. I just wanted to say that in this video. Now, before I talk about some of the games, which of course was all very exciting, the console itself. I mean, it looks great, man. They confirmed the 8-inch screen, right? 7.9 inches. So basically 8-inch screen, significantly bigger than the current Switch. It's an LCD screen. It supports HDR. It's 1080p. And it can output up to 120 frames per second. That is flipping crazy. And even beyond that, most exciting to me as a 99% TV docked player is that it can do 4K when docked. The dock has a fan built into it, thank God, because I had huge issues with my day one OG Switch when it comes to heat and all that stuff. And actually the battery is basically dead in my current Switch. I can't take it off the dock because within 30 seconds it goes from fully charged to dead. So the battery has died. I think the heat over the years has been part of it as somebody who plays it almost exclusively in the dock that does not have a fan. And so all of this information to me is really fantastic. I love that Nintendo really seems to have put their time into making a technically impressive piece of hardware. I mean, 4K, HDR, 1080 screen, all this stuff. It's just really great coming from a Nintendo device. This is all very exciting to me. Also, let's talk about that pesky C button, because we now know what it is. Although, actually, I can't remember if they even said what word it stood for, if it's connect or chat or whatever. But, you know, you saw the presentation. You're watching footage of it now. It's a way to connect with people online. It is a social feature and a social function. And they showed some interesting elements that I kind of thought that maybe the Wii U was going to be able to do. And they even kind of teased the promise of like video chat with the camera that's on the Wii U gamepad. And you guys know me, Wii U Defender. It's an amazing console and y'all should have bought it, but you didn't. And that's what it is. That's a conversation from the past. But either way, it feels like they're kind of more delivering on some of that by introducing almost like a Discord feature. I will never use this because I just don't play with my friends online very often. And I don't play online games very often either, other than like Monster Hunter, which I have on my PS5. But, you know, you can basically bring up almost like a Discord chat server kind of thing. They're selling a camera for, I think, $50 that plugs into the Switch via USB, so you and other people can chat and have little meeting rooms and also share each other's games, which is certainly a neat feature. A lot of stuff that had been done in like the 7th and 8th and 9th gen anyway. You know, going back to the 360 days, we had a lot of these features. Nintendo is catching up in many ways, but they are Nintendo-fying a lot of this. And even though none of this stuff really appeals to how I personally play games, I've got to admit, the Nintendo-fication of these simple, straightforward features, if anything, is pretty cool. They're making social a little bit more fun for people who like to game this way, people who like to stream their video games. And so, I don't know, I give them props for at least how they're approaching a fairly old practice. Now, to talk about the Pro Controller, I'm really excited because it's so dumb. It's another old thing that I don't know why it took Nintendo so long to do, but it's got a flippin' headphone jack, man. I'm so excited for that because the headset that I use if I'm ever going to be either listening to a game or talking with someone online, it uses a headphone jack, and I do that with my Xbox and my PS5, quite often. A lot of times it is just to listen to a game because, like I said, I don't game online very often. And, you know, again, let's give the Wii U its props. The gamepad had a headphone jack for obvious reasons, but it did, and I used it for gaming on the Wii U as well, and still do sometimes. So I'm really glad that it has a headphone jack. It's got the C button, of course, because it needs one. And also, was it GL and GR? They added new buttons like underneath where the hand grips are. I think that's kind of interesting. So I don't know really how that's going to function, but it's kind of cool. And then the last thing to talk about before I quickly run through some of the game information is the mouse controls. They detailed and showed us some of that being used. And look, this is cool to me. I still have concerns over how I would play any kind of more core game like Metroid, for example, or like a first-person shooter like Call of Duty. The games that I play, they're not mini-game kinds of things, and they're not competitive kinds of games for the most part. So those kinds of mouse Joy-Con experiences, I won't really be playing. But again, Metroid Prime 4, Call of Duty, any other normal kind of core game, if there's mouse functionality, I'm going to want to try it. But how do we do it comfortably sitting on a couch? You know, I talked about this in a video many, many weeks ago. I don't play at a desk. I don't play in front of my computer with my Switch hooked up to it. I play on my TV, my big TV in my living room. I'm like 10 to 15 feet away, sitting on a couch. And even leaning up to my coffee table would not be feasible for me and for a lot of people. So I'm all about the mouse feature, you guys. I love it. It's very simple, but it makes a lot of sense. I'm excited to try it with Metroid, which they confirmed it will work for Metroid. But again, the practical use of it, the jury is still out. So I'm sure we're going to learn more over the coming days during the Treehouse presentations. So let's quickly run through the games that got me excited, because there were a lot of them. We opened with Mario Kart World. I love the name. I think it's a lot flashier and more appropriate than just Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart X or any of those other things that we assumed it would be. And everything they showed us about this game, you guys, blew me away. I posted my reaction. I got more excited as the trailer went on, if you've actually seen that reaction. I love the open world concept. I love the idea of being able to drive from race to race. And almost, it seems like it's like you can pick your course, or sorry, pick your Grand Prix. Like, these courses are the ones you want to do, and the world map will, like, connect those races, and you'll drive to and from. How that works with people who are racing online with you, who maybe decide not to drive from course to course, I don't know. I assume that they'll kick people out after a certain period of time if they don't actually make the drive from racetrack to racetrack. But either way, I love that. Another silly thing that just kind of gets me happy is the fact that there's like dynamic weather and lighting, like daytime, nighttime, and weather. I'm just a sucker for that in all video games, and applying it to Mario Kart is very cool and exciting. New power-ups, new features. We got boats, we got snowmobiles, we got planes, we got open world. You can grind on rails, and you can also like wall hop from wall to wall going vertically. It just looks fantastic. I could not be happier with this game, and they did confirm it's a launch title. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, because this is the most exciting thing to me. I'll be making another video about this, and actually it's making me realize there's a whole nother element to the console to talk about, which is the upgrades. Maybe I'll touch on that at the end here. But Metroid Prime 4 is a cross-gen game. It is coming to the Switch 2. It is coming with a Switch 2 edition, as are a few other Switch 1 titles. And with Metroid Prime 4, you can play this thing 4K at 60 frames per second, or 1080p, but at 120 frames per second. You can use mouse controls, improved graphics. This is the dream. Cross-gen is real. It does not appear to be a launch title. We still don't have a date, which is frustrating. I'm going to come back to this in a future video, but I just wanted to say this was amazing, and I could not be happier. Thank you, Nintendo, for treating Metroid Prime 4 with the proper respect that it deserves. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment was so exciting to see. It is another Hyrule Warriors game. It is a prequel to Tears of the Kingdom. It looks like Zelda is obviously going to be your main player for obvious reasons. And not much more to say about this other than I'm thrilled. And also, look, I'm excited for this game. I'm going to buy it and love it. But I do hope and expect that this is the last release ever by Nintendo of a Zelda game using the Breath of the Wild art style and storyline and world and characters and all that stuff. We will have 4 games between the 2 Zelda games and the 2 Hyrule Warrior games. I love them all, but I think this needs to be the end. So hopefully that's what this game represents. But again, I just want to say, I think it looks amazing. Can't wait to play it. One of the biggest surprises is Duskbloods, a Switch 2 exclusive from Software game. In the same direct where they confirmed that Elden Ring is also coming to the Switch 2, which a lot of us theorized and wanted, Duskbloods is a new game and it is Switch 2 exclusive. Nintendo is so smart. They knew the right kind of company to partner with to bring a really exciting game to the console. And it looks so much like Bloodborne. In a way, I was like, is this going to be Bloodborne 2? And it wasn't, which is fine. New IPs technically are better, but I don't know. I'm so excited for this. It's like this dark, gothic, vampire, Souls-like game by From Software, coming off of Elden Ring a few years ago. I mean, and again, exclusive to the Switch. Nintendo ain't messing around. This was a massive reveal set for 2026. I cannot wait. Now, I want to quickly talk about Kirby Air Riders because I am not a Kirby Air Ride fan. It's just like I played that first game on the GameCube way back in the day and I was like, this doesn't work for me. Like, I like Nintendo racers, Wave Race, Mario Kart, F-Zero, 1080, snowboarding. I mean, that kind of stuff is my jam. But that Kirby Air Ride game didn't do much for me. And while I like Kirby, I'm not like a big Kirby fan per se. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands is the game that really converted me. I love that game, and we are getting a Switch 2 edition of that game with new content, which is fantastic. The Air Ride thing, it doesn't do much for me, but this is Sakurai's new game, his first post-Smash Brothers game. And so for that reason alone, I'm going to remain open-minded because I like Kirby, I like Nintendo racers, and I obviously love Sakurai. He's a fantastic developer, so I'm open-minded to see the actual game and the gameplay. I think it will be in the Treehouse this week, and understand more about it. So it certainly could convert me. I'm willing to be excited for it, but on its face, just from the little teaser they gave us, it's like, okay, it doesn't actually do anything for me. I just need to actually see the gameplay, and so I'm going to remain open-minded until then. Which, of course, brings us to the final game, the other big reveal of this Direct and the Switch 2 information, which is a new Donkey Kong game. It's happening, you guys. I'm so freaking excited. It's a 3D Donkey Kong game. It's called Donkey Kong Bananza, and I love everything we are seeing. I mentioned this on my reaction video that I posted. It seems pretty obvious to me, and maybe this has since been confirmed and I haven't had a chance to see it anywhere. It seems pretty obvious to me that the main Mario team, the team that developed Mario Odyssey, which I think is Nintendo EAD, is clearly behind this. This game is taking inspiration from Donkey Kong games, of course, but it's also taking inspiration from 3D Mario games and from, Breath of the Wild. It's like a mix of all these things. Mario, Breath of the Wild, and Donkey Kong all together. We had 2D sections mixed in with these 3D sections. Donkey Kong is like pounding into the ground and doing this like punching, digging thing. There's clearly an element of like mining and going underground and using Donkey Kong's fist to like punch around and get around and find things and make new paths, and he's punching snow and all this crazy stuff. It just looks beautiful. I love the world. I love Donkey Kong. I love platformers, 2D and 3D. That is my favorite genre outside of, I guess, Metroidvania games. And yeah, this was a big one for me. I know maybe not everyone thought it was the best game to close with. For me, it was perfect. I already got Metroid coming. And so with Metroid, the #1 gaming fan in me is already satisfied. You add in the great looking Mario Kart, you give me a new From Software game, you give me a Hyrule Warriors game, and then you give me an amazing looking Donkey Kong game. Look, that's pretty much all I needed, man. Now, 2 more quick things to discuss before I wrap this up for now and wait for future videos after more information comes out. Is GameCube games. They're coming. They're real. Bet your bottom dollar you're going to be playing GameCube games if you're an NSO member on the Switch 2. Now, I am not an NSO member. I do have a GameCube hooked up in this exact room where I work and I make my YouTube videos sitting behind me here. So I play most of my games on my GameCube. I recently got an HDMI upscaler and I really love playing the actual console that way. However, I might sign up for a year for NSO and buy that GameCube controller for the Switch just to do it. Pretty big deal seeing Wind Waker, you know, so with Wind Waker coming to the NSO GameCube set, it's like, how does that impact people waiting for Wind Waker HD to come to the Switch? Obviously, Twilight Princess will come at some point as well, as will Metroid Prime 2. So that's 3 GameCube games that everyone has been waiting to see. Will Nintendo port these to the Switch or the Switch 2? I still think these games might come in a different, beefed up package. But when we just look at like the bare essential ports of the actual games in HD, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Metroid Prime 2, they are absolutely going to be coming to the NSO GameCube games selection. And again, finally, the thing I totally forgot to talk about in the beginning here is the fact that they're doing this upgrade thing for Switch 1 games, which is really exciting. I love the way that they're doing it, because for games that offer the Switch 2 like patch or upgrade, I'm pretty sure they said they're going to be like selling the Switch 2 version of these games, or you can just for $10 to $15 buy a patch, which we all kind of assumed. PlayStation has been doing that since PS5 came out. And so they are doing that. They heavily featured the 2 Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, getting these 4K 60 frame per second patches. Absolutely mind-blowing. So excited. They announced new features specific to these Switch 2 versions for the Nintendo Switch phone app, which is very, very interesting, and conceptually I like it. It's kind of like taking the Wii U concept to the next level. If they have something like this for Metroid Prime 4, I'm about to lose my mind. I definitely want to try that. And so this is very, very cool. Now, the other element to this upgrade thing that they're doing with the Switch 2 is for certain games, they've really only confirmed it, if I'm remembering right, for the Mario Party game that just came out and for Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. It's like, get the Switch 2 upgrade. Whoops, this is not the first time I've done this. Get the Switch 2 upgrade for Kirby or for Mario Party. You're going to get better graphics and frame rate and performance, but also here's basically DLC. Here's new content, new things you can do that's taking special advantage of the Switch 2 hardware. And that's pretty awesome. You know, it's, you know, PS5 had the director's cuts for Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima. So it's kind of the same concept, but they're doing it for Nintendo games. And I loved Kirby, so I'm definitely going to try that new Kirby content. And I've already discussed how they're improving the performance and everything happening with Metroid Prime 4, including the mouse controls. I'm going to be buying the physical copy of Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 2 abso-freaking-lutely. It's basically, there's a Switch 2 exclusive version of Metroid, and then there's the OG Switch version. And so I think that conceptually what they're doing with these upgrades is very promising. I think we need to see more. I think we need to see more games taking advantage of it and what it looks like for different games. But starting off with games like the 2 Zelda games, Metroid Prime 4, which is a brand new game, Kirby and Mario Party, that's a great start. I love what they're doing in terms of looking at it as a great start. So this makes me very, very excited for everything Nintendo is doing with the Switch 2 currently. And so to wrap up, I want to talk about how there was no Mario featured today. And the reason I think there probably wasn't, it's like, it's disappointing, but at the same time, I'm okay with it because of the Metroid stuff and Donkey Kong and all of that. I think that we have to remember that this isn't the one and only direct they're going to do for the Switch 2 ever. This isn't every game they're making for the Switch 2. We know they're making a new Mario game. We know they're making a new Zelda game. Metroid 6 is probably being developed. A new Animal Crossing, a new Smash Brothers, a new Fire Emblem, yada, 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 yada. Hopefully Star Fox, things like that. And so, you guys, in a couple of months, maybe in June, after the Switch 2 is launched, or maybe a little bit later, July or August, they're going to have a follow-up Direct. The first Nintendo Direct after the Switch 2 has launched. They need one or two huge heavy hitters to be a part of that Direct to sell the promise of the future of the Switch 2 to us. And so that's where something like a new 3D Mario game, a Metroid 6, a new Animal Crossing or Smash Brothers, you need those megaton announcements for that Direct. And so, I'm just guessing and theorizing, but I think they probably saved 3D Mario and other games like that for that Direct. This is everything before the Switch 2 is out. But what about the first Direct after it's out? We need that thing to blow our minds as well. And you know what would blow our minds in the next Nintendo Direct? The new 3D Mario game. I think they knew between Mario Kart, Metroid, and Donkey Kong, and even that Duskbloods game, they had enough to get everyone excited before the Switch 2 came out. So I'm confident saying that the next Mario game is going to be shown in the next Direct after the Switch 2 has released. And that'll be great. I'll be very excited for it. So I think I've gotten out my initial thoughts here. You know, I tried to both get out a lot of information and opinions, but also go kind of fast because, like I said, it's a very busy day for me, you know, and it's only a few hours old. The information is fresh and bouncing around my mind, and some of this information might even be different by the time the video is posted tomorrow morning, but it is what it is. This is how I'm fitting in my time recording this conversation. So, I'm excited. I loved the show. I think the Switch 2 looks fantastic. The pricing situation definitely sucks, and I'm nervous about it. But for now, I'm not going to overthink it until I learn more information. Metroid Prime 4 Switch 2 Edition, Donkey Kong, Mario Kart World, let's freaking go. I'm excited. Tell me what you guys thought. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.